rotten egg, I sniffed it. I would take out and sniff it like Joe Biden sniffing the little girl's hair. You know what I mean? Like up close and personal. But it had to go. It had to go.
And on what basis? Like, how did you judge the evidence? Because I'm sure you can find experts give you evidence to support whatever belief you want. So how did you decipher between truthful and bullshit evidence?
Well, I don't necessarily look at it as you do have to examine the evidence and determine whether you think it's truthful or bullshit. Sure, but it's really more of the what's piled up. It's the evidence that's piled up, and you need to examine that pile of wood and find out if that's going to be enough for you to get through the night. Okay, so what I determined was that I didn't, not at all, have enough firewood to get me through the night, but I still lit that motherfucker. Okay, I had the marshmallows to go, but at 4 a.m. I got cold. So but it was fun though because I had my belly full of s'mores. But you see what I'm saying? Like your information is rotten.
I think I'm picking up what you're putting down, sort of, kind of. Trying to think of an example of a rotten egg I've gotten rid of, but they're all mostly niche.
Oh, mate, stuff. If you can't think of one, you haven't got rid of them yet.
Yeah, rotten. It's the rotten egg aspect of it that because rotten means there's no good to be derived from it.
Because to you it smells like a sweet Sasquatch egg.
I love them. I love those marshmallows.
Don't you? We all love it. Yeah. Just like Joe Biden loves sniffing the shampoo out of a little girl's hair.
Head to shoulders.
I can't be censored right now, guys. I will not be censored. But we've all seen it, and hey, you fit, Cinderella.
Yeah, I think I'm more looking for golden eggs than rotten.
I was too. But what you find out is that the golden egg equates to certainty. The golden egg equates to a knowledge claim. And just because it's shiny and gold, don't make it good.
In fact, certainty is what I'm searching for.
You'd be better.
When I say golden egg, I'm not looking for certainty. It's more meaning and the hero's journey talks about you go down into the dungeon underworld, pick your metaphor, and you bring back something. Now I'm looking for that thing to bring back to people in real world. I'm like, oh, I found there's a truth here that can make existence better.
Yeah, I mean, the way I would say it is like, I'm looking for eggs that will...
Eggs that what?
Eggs that will give me nutrition and that I can live on. Sure. And that will feed me.
Mm-hmm. And now, should you take that egg home and travel all the way home with your basket full of eggs that you assume are going to taste good? Should you start counting those eggs before you get home and crack them open? And once you pick them up, assume that they're gonna feed you, that you're gonna be able to survive with them? Did someone point to it and say, there it is, Richard, go get it. Put that in your basket. It's gonna taste good. Because what I'm trying to say is that if you're really, I'm not necessarily looking for that short-term fix and that sugar rush. I'm not trying to get my glucose levels up.
Neither am I.
Okay? Because a blood glucose level is what the snapshot of what your level is right now in your blood. Yeah.
Sure.
But then they got other ways of checking your sugar that's an average over 6 months.
Sure.
Okay. It's one or something like that. And that's what I'm more interested in because I want it to last.
Yeah.
Forever. Yeah. And I'm not willing to eat an egg just because my glucose is low.
Yeah. Can I ask if you grew up with faith and faith is one of these rotten eggs that you've...
Absolutely, yes. Don't question simply. When a question is yes or no, that one's an easy yes.
Do you go into a bit more of the story of what it was, or is that too?
Sure. And it does come down to definitions. Okay, so when I say that I found faith as a rotten egg in my brain and got rid of it, what I'm saying is that faith to me, again, is the reason that you give when you don't really have a reason. Excuse that you offer when you don't have compelling evidence. Because if you had compelling evidence and someone asked you, why do you believe that? Whether it's God, religion, the Holy Book, whatever, it doesn't matter, Sasquatch. If you had the evidence, that's when you would present it. But only if you don't have compelling evidence do you say, well, I'll just take it on faith. So to answer your question, if faith is what I define it as believing something without compelling evidence, then absolutely I found it and I got rid of it. And I found out that I had faith in a lot of things, not just religion and God and books.
Sure. What else do you have faith in?
I had faith in, you could say I had faith in Sasquatch. I had faith in aliens and UFOs. Like I thought we were being visited, like all stuff.
Do you have faith in anything right now?
No, because I feel like faith again is bad, because faith is the word that we use as opposed to using the word evidence or demonstrations or proof. The proof is in the pudding. Proof. They don't say the in the faith. That's not the phrase. You know, I mean, faith means you ain't got no pudding.
Sure.
Are your parents still, are your family members that still hold on to their faith?
Yes, they still suffer with faith.
Suffer with faith, I'm saying. How do you relate to them? What's your relationship with them like?
They're my parents. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. No, how do I relate to them? No, it can be awkward. I feel like they have rotten eggs in their brain, and it really puts a wedge between us, even though my parents are very loving and they didn't shun me or anything. Like, they accepted me and they pray for me every single day and hope that, I guess I go back to the way I was. I'm not sure if that answers your question.
No, I think that I appreciate you, answering it, because it's not, this can be private matters that people don't want to share online. So
I've already talked about my sex life and there's nothing left. So let's go.
Well, Claire says she's coming on to talk to you about objective morality, so that should be fun.
I like that topic. I think
you do.
I think so. It's something I'm interested in. Yes, I'm interested in.
I thought you were interested in subjective morality.
Well, I mean, we're talking about different things. What I'm interested in versus what I believe I have.
Fair. That's a fair distinction.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm interested in having the conversation. I don't know what she's going to say, and I'm just interested to know.
Yeah. So, did you grow up a fundamentalist Christian? Is that the faith that you got rid of?
Yeah, I grew up as a Southern Baptist, and I hook, line, and sinker. Walked down the aisle 6, and like I thoroughly believed it. Like I thought I was, I believed in the Old Testament, the New Testament. I believed in salvation. I believed Jesus died on the cross. I believe he resurrected, all for our sins, the flesh of God, his son, and came down to, all that. I believed it. And I struggled because I struggled with it. Like, even because we all, like I said, have our own moral compass. And I know a lot of people who are theists like to deny that moral compass. And they're like, oh, well, no, my moral compass comes from God. My moral compass comes from this book or this holy scripture, whatever. But it don't know. We all have our own moral compass. And what I mean by that is no matter what God or holy book or scripture you might claim to believe in, if I scratched it and I scratched at the surface and started digging, I know that I could find something that you would conflict with the morality of God. So to tell me that, well, that's not sufficient to operate as a human being, I don't even know what that means. But like, all We all have our
Jacob's comments.
Let's not deny it. Let's not deny it. And let's not act like, even if we were going to deny that and say, well, yeah, but mine's better because it comes from God. That's fallacious in itself.
Sure. Here's my question though.
I didn't hear.
Here's a question I have. That moral compass.
Sure.
Who built it? Did you build it?
In a sense, I did, but
Okay.
it was really more. It wasn't like I had. It was more like it built itself based off of my observations. You know what I wasn't. I wasn't necessarily in control of it.
Right.
It impacted me, and like all of a sudden it was north, east, south. Well, like it just kind of took shape. It doesn't mean that my moral compass is 100% accurate,
Right.
but
Yeah.
it damn sure don't mean yours, to whoever I'm talking. You know what I mean? Like to the general you. The difference is, from my opinion, it seems to me that someone can just say, "Hey, well, your moral compass is balagna," because you just made it up, even though you can't make it up, but you did, and it's trash. Mine isn't made up. Mine isn't made up because God said it, and no man made it up, wrote it in a book as if God said it. God actually said it, and therefore I am on solid ground. You see how? I mean,
Right. I don't think. Well, I don't know. I'd be interested to hear how Jacob would justify
wow.
belief in revelation.
Oh, now that's
Uh,
good. Okay,
yeah,
I like.
because that was something he alluded to, was that he had an argument for rational belief in revelation.
What
But
remember? No, you're spot on, Richard, because he said that he used revelation and he also used his rationale.
yeah,
But sometimes rationale and revelations conflict.
right. Um, well,
So,
so how would that work?
so at what point do you forsake rationale? Never,
Well,
never. Shame on anyone,
hold on.
huh? I didn't hear you.
Well, so cause I'm trying to think of when rationality and
Tried.
revelation might conflict. Um, I mean, in the case of the age of the earth, maybe.
Yeah, that's a good example. Sure.
Sure.
So what do you do there, Richard?
I don't know. I mean,
If
let's
this,
see.
if this,
Go ahead.
no, you
Sure.
go ahead.
Um. Well, I mean, one. Hmm, I was arguing about this, or I was talking about this earlier with Jacob, but I, when I pray, I have this sense that when I look up to heaven, I'm looking up to God. Right now, obviously, rationally, that comports with what is physically the case, because when we talk about up, it's just space, right? There is no inherent direction in space at all, and there is no realm of God that we can find with a telescope or anything like that. So, but I mean, I feel like whenever we think that faith and rationality conflict, they don't really conflict.
But he told me
Right.
it did.
Right. And I think I think the quote he read, underneath that I think the author would agree that it only looks as if they conflict.
Okay, well then let's look, because I believe there was an example in that conversation that he gave. Very generously give me the example of the age of the earth, whether it's whatever. Um, if the Bible or Revelation or whatever Scripture says one thing and the scientific method, then I don't think it's fair to say, oh well, I use a bunch of different etymologies to come to my conclusions. Yeah, like for example, on the age of the earth, well, the Bible says this thing and the scientific method says that thing, and I choose to disregard the method and believe what my holy book says. Get any sillier than that?
No, I think, I think, because here's the thing. So I'm on a computer right now, and
As you should be, Richard, honestly.
yes, and this computer is able to be built by scientific means, right? So I could say to Jacob, who is also on a computer, Jacob, you're contradicting yourself by projecting science here, but using science in the case of your computer. Now, I'm not so sure about that because this is where Jacob's point of how do you know the world wasn't created last Thursday?
That's a
Now,
great. I'm sorry. Go
now,
ahead.
but
Finish that.
now, one way you could answer that is I don't know whether the world was created last Thursday, but according to the scientific method, I have plausible evidence to say that it was created, or that the Earth is 13.8 billion years, I think. Now, for reasons of having a certain perspective and participation in the world, I think it is rational to reject that evidence for the sake of more fully participating in, for example, Judaism. Because I think if you are a Jew and you believe that the world is 5,834 years, I think he said, years old, then you have a full participation in your community, in your tradition, in a way that rejecting the possible scientific evidence, who cares? Who cares? But it could have been created last Thursday anyway. So I'd rather more fully participate in my tradition.
Okay, so you're willing to set aside truth. So what I hear you say, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you and I you, I, and Jacob, maybe don't value truth equally because I put truth on the highest pedestal. Like I said, I'm on the for truth, and what it sounds like you just told me was that, yeah, but if truth could my community, I'm going to choose my community. And
it's not just community; it's
participation. You said,
yeah.
yeah.
I'm trying to.
I don't want to participate in something false. So like my first.
It's not. It's not exactly false. Okay, look.
Let me finish.
Yeah, go ahead.
What I was going to say is I don't want to. The last thing I want to do is participate in something false. So
I agree.
I would rather take a step back and say, I haven't seen compelling evidence that is true. Therefore, I'm going to abstain worship, for example, until I know that. And so, for you to say, "Well, how do you know that?" I never made a claim.
Hey, Chad.
Very strategic that way. I'll give you a little piece of, make no claims of knowledge. Let the other moron make a bunch of claims that not that anyone I talked to tonight was. I'm just saying in general. Let them themselves. So I never claimed the Earth was a certain age.
Yeah.
But
Oh, come on, Kitty. All right, you can go outside. That's fine.
Go ahead, Joe.
So, is beauty rational?
Sometimes, sure.
Oh,
I mean,
look at that cat and tell me that beauty is rational.
what's that?
Sorry, Chad, I'll let you carry up.
That
cat,
stupid cute.
Like I my experience of, or let's say even awe. I mean, awe kind of like all three of those. What all transcendentals, beauty, truth, and goodness. Like
what about
when all three of those are hitting just right, that's like awe. And to me, there's nothing rational about that. I mean, that's kind of so I don't think it's rational, and those are some of the reasons. Like, those are some of the best reasons for life.
You're coming in here with the argument that no one's making.
He's well.
And no one was ever talking about beauty being rational. I don't understand where this is coming from.
Well, no, you said, because you were saying something about rationality a minute ago, and you were saying that truth is the highest.
I didn't say that. I said I put truth on the highest pedestal. I talking about rationale. I'm not sure what you mean.
But you were just talking about rationality, about how, I can't remember exactly what you said now, because it's been like a couple minutes, and I just woke up.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it's sometimes rational, maybe it's not, but like, okay, so now what?
Well, I was thinking about in Revelation, there's something irrational about all of that too.
According to you.
Well,
rationale is subjective, though, isn't it?
No,
I
don't think so.
Okay, but how could Jacob's rationale reach him to come to a different conclusion?
Truth is that's your understanding of truth, not rationale. He came to a different truth, but it was very rational in his.
There's more.
It wasn't irrational.
But there's multiple truths. He said he came to a different truth. There's multiple.
You're the one that claims subjective truth.
Yes.
Well, anyways, I just thought it was an interesting conversation. I want to say good morning and take dogs for a walk, and then go off to work. But it's good to see you guys on here.
Well, it's good. I can't really see you, but yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty dark. Yes.
It's the thing. It's the whole thing.
What thing?
Just.
It's not that long of an explanation, Jay.
Huh?
I'll stop. I hope you guys have a great day.
Oh yeah. Thanks.
Chad is in AA, and the AAers have a practice of online. I can't say this word. Online, staying anonymous online.
Staying anonymous.
Yeah, he online, and so he tries to hide his face.
You said who has a habit of that?
Chad does. That's why he was.
Okay, that's cool.
More shy.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to back to the Earth discussion. Right, so look, I am partly confused with Jacob because I have seen him say that the Earth is simultaneously 13.8 billion years old and 5,836 years.
And did you not stop him immediately right there? That doesn't make any freaking sense.
No, it makes sense to me.
Okay, explain it to me because it doesn't.
Let me give you an example.
Okay.
When you look at, those pictures of the solar system,
Sure.
where it's the sun and all of the planets lined up. That's one perspective of the universe, but it's not the perspective I have from my body, looking up at the sky.
What
Right.
perspective do you?
So the idea that the Earth is flat and has a dome on top of it, in one sense, that is true. Because that's how I experience the world when I go and look at it. Right. In another sense, it's not true.
In every
What's that?
in every sense, it's not true.
No, it's not, because that's how it looks.
Right, but is your perception a good pathway to truth? Is it a reliable pathway?
No, it is because it was good enough for us to live
Could you
for millions of years before we knew that the Earth was the sun was in the center and all that.
And you're attributing that to what?
To our ability to operate with our I'll call them, we can call them illusions if we want to. So my perspective of how the Earth is an illusion, let's say. But that illusion was good enough for all of my ancestors to live for millions of years.
How do you know it was good enough?
Because they survived.
Oh, but did they? Are they still around?
They produced all the way up until me.
And everybody who produced believed that same thing, yeah? Or other people who didn't believe it also produced. And therefore, it's not a reliable pathway to anything.
Well, no, because if we're saying that something illusory is not a reliable path, are we saying that?
We're saying that your own experience is not a reliable path to truth. Yes, you can't rely on it. About 2 hours ago, I had my phone in my pocket, and I could have sworn it vibrated. Like I pulled it out, and I was like, I know somebody was calling me. I felt it vibrate, but it wasn't, because my perception is not a reliable pathway to truth. I can be your perception wrong. So you need more to establish what is true. And you can't say that just because
I agree.
Yeah, just because you say you perceive it one way doesn't make it so, and you can't say that you perceive it this.
I'm not saying that it's so.
No, yeah, but I'm just speaking generally. A person could perceive it this way, but then they also that way when those two ways are in complete contradiction. Because it sounded like you were saying
no, they're not in contradiction because they work on different levels, right?
Levels.
The solar system example, right? We use that when we're calculating sunsets, when we're shooting satellites into orbit, stuff like that. Well, that's on a very technical level, right? Where it involves mathematics. It involves a lot of scientific, very technical scientific knowledge.
Okay.
In the loose sense of the word, that 99% of people don't use. Right.
9% of what?
99% of people
Don't what?
don't use. They don't use that level. Right. So on the level of your everyday experience, right? The perspective of, oh, the earth is just, the way I perceive it. That works. If you believe that's true, it works on that level.
Right. Saying that you can believe in unicorns and it can work for you. You can function.
No. Well,
wait, no, but I reproduced. And my grandparents, they believed in unicorns and they reproduced too, so it works. You see, like, I mean, so just because you believe it.
Yeah, no, I see your point. It's well, I mean, it's not. And this goes back to like the discussion of fairies and stuff like that. Why did people believe that fairies exist?
Because they were retarded.
What? Because they were what?
Because they're dumb.
I don't think so.
Okay, then you tell me.
What's that?
Then you tell me. I was just being facetious. I mean, I don't know why people believe. Why do people believe all kind of things for various ridiculous reasons or an absence of reasons altogether? I mean, I'm not sure how to answer it. I mean, you'd have to ask people who believe. Ask them for the evidence. I don't know.
Well, I mean, part of this is like, I mean, see what you think of this. Have you heard the Boxing Day tsunami?
I'm not sure. I couldn't quite understand you, but probably not.
Okay, there was a group of I think they were missionaries, I think, and they were on this island with native people, and the natives there one day were convinced that everyone should go up to the mountains because a spirit was in the ocean and was going to cause a tsunami.
Okay.
Right? But the missionaries weren't convinced because spirits are stupid and stuff like this. So they stayed on the beach, and the tsunami came and they were killed. Okay. So what function was the belief in spirit serving? Now, I will concede to you that it's probably better to have scientific systems that measure the seismic activity under the ocean and cause tsunamis, right? It's probably better to do that. But for that tribe, the explanation of spirits was serving a certain function, right? Now, how does that work? I don't know exactly, but it was a useful tool to avoid disaster.
Was it?
Because the people who believed in it.
Was it a reliable tool?
I mean, reliable. I mean, yeah. I'm not sure whether it's probably less reliable than a seismometer.
Well, then I'm not interested, right?
Like, it's probably pretty reliable, though. Wouldn't you rather have it than not have it?
Well, hang on now. First of all, where's this tribe? What was the island, and how reliable was it? What percentage? How many times did they go inland and the tsunami didn't come? How many times did they not go inland and a tsunami did come and wipe them out?
Probably a lot, but wouldn't you rather have it than be dead? Because the people who didn't believe died.
No. But what about who didn't feel a spirit stayed on the coast and then
Sure. There could be all sorts of errors. But the fact is it worked enough of the time so that for thousands of years, this tribe had this belief in the spirit.
And what was the name of this tribe?
Here, let me pull up the link.
Yeah, well, where were they? Where were they? Like, did they ever get wiped out with tsunamis? Because you just said.
I'm sure they did.
Oh, but you just said that for thousands of years, the spirit. But it doesn't sound like it worked if they got wiped out. So you can't have this.
Hold on.
You don't have to look them up, but let's just assume that at some point somebody was, if not, a lot of people were wiped out by a tsunami. So
sure, but
with any story, you can always find, like, trying the question of how efficient was it is, you're never going to find someone that's 100% efficient. So I don't get the point of that question.
The fact is that it's more efficient than not believing in the spirit.
Wait a second now. How do you know that?
Because the people who didn't died.
How do you know that?
Because that was in the accounts of what happened. The missionaries who didn't
Sterling, I'm going to ask you.
Died because they stayed on the beach when the other people left.
Okay, so the spirit didn't reach them
because they were foreigners, so they didn't believe in the spirits that the native tribes did.
Wouldn't it just be more efficient to just move inland permanently and just be inland?
Not if you need to fish and farm and have land there.
You could go back and forth.
I don't understand why I think the story is the story. The story is there to for meaning to be driven out. I think you're trying to kill the story by investigating all of this.
It's fine.
Well, I'm not trying to kill the story, but there are many problems with the story. First of all,
that's fine, but do you get the general point of it?
I get the errors in your logic. Yeah, I'd like to explain them to you.
What errors? I can continue to rebut the errors.
I would love to explain something to you. What you're doing. Right?
Go on.
Yeah. So do this. Let's say what you're basically saying. What's the harm? And it might help. And it's a lot of people. And so what if it's not? What's the harm? It actually benefited.
No, I'm not saying what, because there's tremendous harm sometimes.
I didn't say tremendous. I didn't say anything.
I said there can be tremendous harm.
Oh, okay.
If you believe in the wrong spirit.
So it could be false. It could cause. But you're asking me, I wouldn't just believe it?
No, I'm asking, wouldn't it be in this story? Wouldn't you rather? Look, you don't even have to believe that the spirit is real.
Okay.
That's fine. But wouldn't you rather have at least trusted in the, I don't know what you want to call it, the beliefs of the tribe? Rather, what?
The faith, perhaps.
Sure. So wouldn't you rather have trusted the tribe than stayed with the missionaries on the beach and died?
I would rather examine evidence and spirits and what you perceive. Like, first of all, spirit's never been proven. No one can prove it. And so therefore what you
it depends on what you mean by spirit. Okay, so look, I would just say a spirit is any the spirit is the unity that emerges out of any collection of parts.
So
There's
your motor vehicle has a spirit?
yes.
That's ridiculous.
No, it's not. Let me ask you this. You're sitting on a couch, right?
Sure. This will be good. Go ahead.
So the couch has cushions, it has a back, it has legs, right?
Sure.
How do you know, or how do you explain to me how you see the couch as one thing if it's made up of many parts?
Do you see the error in your logic?
No, I don't.
Because you just asked me a loaded question. I have claimed that this couch is one thing. I've never made that claim. You just stuck that in.
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Okay, so do you not believe the couch is one thing?
You kind of just you kind of set up this straw, easy to tear down. You see?
I mean, I don't think it's a straw man. I think
It's
most
perfect.
no, still, I think most people would say that there are things.
Sure, I would say that too.
So how do you know a thing is a thing?
Who said that I know that it's a thing?
How do you see it as a thing?
Eyeballs. What are you talking about, Richard?
How do your eyeballs see it as a thing?
You want me to explain how eyeballs see things?
I'm simply saying that there is a mysterious process going on at the heart of your perception.
What's mysterious?
The fact that things emerge out of things.
No. If we understand how they're created and how they're destroyed and what they're made of, it's not mysterious at all. You just told me how a couch is made. You just described the parts.
Right, so how do you get the whole out of the parts?
You put them together.
But what makes them one thing?
Who said it was?
You said it's a thing.
It is
So, can I substitute the word a for one? If the couch is a thing, can I say it's one thing? Is that a problem?
Is that a problem?
Yes.
It is if you're going to follow that up with, but oh wait, there's many things that are collectively one thing. Just as though like all the planets.
Is that not true?
Sure, it's
there
true.
Are many things that are collectively one thing.
But who's arguing with that? Not me.
I'm not. I'm simply asking for you to provide a simple account of that. I'm saying that it's not possible.
I said what's not possible?
I am claiming that it's very difficult to account for how that happened. If you're able to, I'd like to hear.
Okay. How about this?
Yo.
Are you familiar with
YouTube with a naked buddy?
Hey Tyler, do you want me?
Sorry?
Sorry, go ahead.
Are you familiar with water?
Yes.
Is what?
Sorry?
Is water a thing? I'm just going to show you how silly this is. Of course, water is a thing.
Sure.
Of course, oxygen is a thing. Of course, oxygen is a thing. When you combine them in the right way, they turn into some other thing.
But how do you know that?
How do I know what?
Not how do you know that, but how does that happen? Like, how is it that distinct molecules that are, they're all separate things?
They were.
If we arrange them in certain patterns, we say that, oh, this water droplet and this water droplet, they're the same thing. Yes?
Not always, but go ahead.
Isn't that, like, strange to you?
No.
That we are... No?
No.
Like, the... It's how we're defining things, right? Because if a thing is a discrete object, then how can this discrete object be the same thing as this discrete object?
Well, I told you with your water droplet examples, they're not necessarily the same. Sure, they might be comprised of hydrogen and oxygen in the same proportions, but one drop of rain could potentially include bacteria. The other one doesn't. So now you've got other things in that thing. But yeah, everything's a thing, and even it's hard to stop breaking that.
Well,
I don't understand.
well, hold on, Tyler. So I think we uncovered a distinction that shows why your question of is water a thing.
I didn't question that.
Didn't you ask me if
No,
water was?
well,
What did you ask me?
then even that small things, and even that's smaller things. So to me, it's not mysterious or confusing.
You cut out a bit. Can you repeat that?
Oh yeah, sorry. If I keep cutting out, let me know. But if I refresh, I probably won't be able to get back in. No, I offered that as an example of a thing that's made up of smaller things, and it's really hard to stop. Once you do that, like even those H2O, like the H is made up of smaller things. We could talk about electrons and neutrons, and and then we could say what those are made of. So I mean, certainly things are made out of other things. I don't disagree with that.
But how? Well, there's something. There's something. Tell me if you share this intuition. There's something immaterial about the fact that we are able to say, oh yeah, this is a thing, but that I can move down and say, oh, it's comprised of these things. I can move down and say, oh, it's comprised of these things. Right? Like that moving up and down, right? It seems, at least to my intuition, that there's you need something else
For what?
to account for our ability to move up and down the chain of things.
And remind me, I missed the part about moving up and down. What were you talking about?
Oh, the thing made of things made of things.
And there's something immaterial about things coming from other things.
The fact that we're able to perceive it at different levels. Right?
Level. Here you go.
Does that level language make sense? Right. So
No.
so you have the couch, and then you have the cushions and the legs and the back, and then you have the wood and the cotton and the thing, and then you keep going down. So that's what the level language is.
Okay. Parts that are made of smaller parts.
Yes.
And these parts that are up here are material parts that are made of smaller material parts, but to use something immaterial about that, which is nonsensical to me.
Look, it may well be material.
Tell me something that isn't.
I mean, I think
Spirit.
no. Well, let's not use that word.
Yeah, I'm trolling.
Great example. Perfect.
Well, again?
So I mean, I would say that this is hard because it gets into like conceptual categories. I'd almost say that the levels are immaterial.
But we agreed that the levels are made of material things.
No. We said that the things at the levels are made of material things.
Each level is made up of material things. So, like, at what point?
No, not the levels. We said the things at the levels
are comprised of material things.
Right.
And
so that means that the fact that we agreed that the leg and the cushion and the back are on the same level, the level is not material. Well, the things are.
Yeah, it's not material as though it's a shelf.
We could call it it's a conceptual category.
Okay, sure.
Right.
But what have we proven? Where does this get us?
Is that material? Is a conceptual category material?
A thought? No, I'll give you that. Like, I guess it's a thought that we have that's immaterial. Sure.
But is it real?
You tell me, because that's what I care. I don't care if it's material or not. I care if it's true.
It seems real to me, the fact that we can identify the couch, the leg, and the cushion at the same level. That seems to be how reality works.
Is it possible? Is it possible one of those items and put it on a level that's really not the level it should be?
Yes, then that would be false.
Then therefore, what does that tell you?
That tells you that you have made an error in where you put things in the levels. And
so therefore the level is completely subjective to you, and it's not.
No, sorry. Repeat your first question again. I think I misunderstood it.
Well, you're saying, hey, look, the fact that we put everything on the same level, even though the things are material, are on the same level, and that level isn't material.
Well, if you put cotton on the level of couch leg back, you would say, I would say, that's a mistake. You made a mistake.
Okay.
Because there's a reality to no, the cotton is on the level of the leg to the back. That's not how the object exists, right? So it's perfectly objective.
It's really not. It's really not. But in the way that you described it, because what you thought was cotton could be some sort of polyester plastic hybrid, and so you made an error already by putting it on the shelf with other natural things.
But that's only because I misidentified the cotton by perceptual error. That's nothing wrong with the category.
So it's not necessarily objective, or you still think it is?
Look. You said, "Oh, I may have thought the cotton, or I may have mistaken polyester fiber for cotton," right? That's the same kind of error of thinking 1 + 1 = 3. I just made an error. There's nothing wrong with the math.
Oh, there is.
No, there's nothing wrong with the math in the sense of, well, it doesn't mean we throw away numbers. It just means that I've done the math wrong.
Yeah.
In the same way of, if I mistake cotton for polyester fiber, I've simply looked wrong.
Yeah, you were false.
Right. So the categories still work, or the levels still work, just like the math still works.
All right, sure, yeah, and the level is non-material, but it's made up of material things. I still don't really get I'm missing the bigger picture, Richard. What am I missing?
So you just admitted that there is an immaterial thing that exists, and
it's the idea of this level that you made up.
No, you said
you confirmed it.
You said it was real.
Oh, I was going with you that it's real in the sense that it's an idea that you have, or unless you meant that it's actually on the shelf, and then in which case it is real. This level that you.
What do you mean actually on the shelf?
Well, like a material shelf on the wall. I mean, are we going to put the thing?
No, still, you just agreed with me that there's a couch on one level.
No, I didn't say that.
So why didn't you stop and tell I was wrong?
Oh, because I was trying to hear you out, but I don't. But then what I tried to push back on is that these levels are completely subjective, and you just made them up.
And you haven't proven that, because I said to you that if you put the cotton on the level of the leg, you've made an objective error. Just like if you said 1 plus 1 equals 3, you've made an objective error.
Says the person who made up the levels? And then made up of what?
No, Sterling, the fact is that we can agree on the levels.
We don't, though, because I don't even know what levels you're talking about. We could make levels based off of color.
Sterling. So there's an infinite amount of levels, just like there's an infinite amount of numbers. That's not an objection.
Okay.
So I don't see how you've objected to the reality of the levels that I'm talking about.
Wait, are they real, or I thought they were?
They're real.
They're real, but they're immaterial.
Yes.
Okay, I don't have a problem with this. Fiction.
Did you call it a fiction? What?
Yes.
How is it a fiction?
Because they don't exist.
How?
Because they're immaterial.
Because there
you said they're real. So how do they not exist?
I don't believe they're real in the sense that like you just made them up in your mind.
Well, Sterling, how are we able to agree that leg, back, cushion are on the same level if the level isn't real?
I don't agree. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
But you do, because you see it as a couch.
Well,
yeah. You see it as a couch.
Yes.
And then you see the parts.
Yes.
What are the parts of a couch?
I couldn't name them all. They're infinite.
What are some of them?
Leather, wood, let's say cotton, but even then you can break them down into like elements, and you could break those down electrons. So to say,
well, so the fact that you said elements and then electrons, that points to the reality of levels.
No, that points to the reality of the material object that I just described.
Yeah, and the fact that scientists for 300 years have categorized elements, molecules, atoms, and now quarks. Those are levels.
You call them levels. I just call them different things.
They're
just different things.
Not different parts, but
different material.
So when you say different things, so you're saying an element is a thing, an atom is a thing, a molecule is a thing.
Sure.
Right? Can you point to? Look. Can you point to atom? Can you point to molecule?
I'm not sure where you're going with this, Richard.
What makes you say that this atom is the same as this atom? Is that these two things are the same thing?
I didn't say they were.
Yes, you did.
I said, what was you saying?
You said that atoms are a thing.
Yes.
So I assumed that. Well, this is the two definitions of things again. Right? We have the category definition of thing, and we have the individual instance definition of thing. Right? So on the category level, you're agreeing that the individual instance of atom A is the same thing as individual instance of atom B. Yes. But then on the level of individual instance, you would say, no, they're not the same thing. Does that make sense?
No.
Yeah, you lost me there as well.
Okay, sorry. So let me do this.
I'm going to use the restroom, but I'm listening. Go ahead.
All right. So let me do it this way. A factory produces two identical cars. So there's a distinction in philosophy in this. Let me run the example. So you have a factory that produces two cars that are alike in the same way.
It produces what?
Two cars they produce two cars that are the same.
No, they're not.
Materially, they're the same.
No, they're not.
They're the same in the sense that the same number of quarks are arranged in exactly the same way.
Then that's what's the same, not the
Right,
car.
right. So this is what I'm trying to get at. But there are two definitions of the word thing that we are working with here. And I agree with you, Sterling, that they're not the same.
Before you get there, I'm not interested in learning different definitions of the word thing. Okay? So I'm not.
No, Sterling, you have used these two definitions.
All right, well then go ahead and kick it to me.
Right? Okay. So because earlier you said that I said atoms are a thing, molecules are a thing, elements are a thing.
Yeah.
Right. That is the same as saying cars are a thing.
Yes, they are, but they're not the same thing. Don't
right.
you get?
So that's two definitions of, because they are cars are a thing.
No, it's the
And
same.
so,
The word thing is the same. The only difference is we've interjected a different word, an adjective, which is same. Because once you add same thing, then it gives a whole different meaning and purpose.
so are two things ever the same thing?
If I said yes, where would we go from there?
All I'm proposing is that we are operating with two definitions.
An element,
Look, hold on.
An element of carbon. Okay, one carbon is the same as another carbon. So I'll agree that those two things are, let's say they're identical, right? Now what?
Well, so I'm simply saying yes, I agree, but then in another sense, they're not the same thing because they're two distinct objects.
Okay.
Right. Okay. So now let's walk back. Right. So when you say that the two carbon atoms are the same thing, right? That points to, so the two carbon atoms are the same thing. Carbon is an element, just as iron is an element. So elements are the same thing.
Iron, did you say iron's actually not an element?
It is an element. Fe. I forget the.
You have ferrous, and then you have sulfate. Those are two different.
Oh wait, am I screwing up my?
Those are multiple different elements. Yeah.
Wait, what? Say that again. Sorry.
Ferrous sulfate is what we call iron. It's made up of multiple elements. It is not ferrous. Iron is not an element. That's the only correction.
I think I'm.
Fe.
Yeah, Fe, also known as iron.
Fe is ferrous. It's not iron.
Sorry, it's commonly known as iron.
No, it's not. That's ferrous sulfate. That's what's known as iron.
Okay, it's just I'm on Wikipedia. Iron is a chemical element with symbol Fe, Latin ferrum. So if you're speaking Latin, fine, but it's also known as iron. So to go back, carbon and iron are both elements. Well, hold on. So now we're working with two sorts of levels here, because we have the problem of identity, and then the problem of, that's interesting. Okay, so we've gone to a different place than I was before.
Yeah.
Go ahead, sorry. Hold on. Let me try and get us back, because this started with spirit. And the whole thing with spirit was trying to get at the reality of non-material things.
Yeah,
Right.
that's where we started.
So there's two cases of immaterial things here, I would say. And there's two things that point to it. One is the case of the two carbon atoms, where we say they're the same thing.
Materials.
No, but they're the same. We said that they're the same thing.
The same material thing, yeah.
Right. So they're pointing to a reality above them.
No.
But you call it carbon.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let me just read that. So you have the carbon.
Listen, if two carbons are the same or if they're different, it doesn't matter. They're both material. We can see them like under the right situation. And
So here's how I can get it. Let's just say that there's a conceptual idea that is there's a
an idea. Carbon is a material.
No,
is an idea.
No, but still, I agree with you that carbon is a thing, but there is also a conceptual idea that allows us to put the two individual instances of the carbon atom as being the same thing. There is nothing in the material universe that is telling you that those two carbon atoms are the same thing. You have what's the word? Imposed a conceptual schema, a conceptual thing.
Presupposition.
What's that?
Yeah, a presupposition.
Yeah. Well, sure. We'll call it a presupposition. That's not a good use of the word, but fine.
Okay.
You've imposed a conceptual presupposition on the two carbon atoms to say that they're the same thing. That conceptual schema is not material.
False. You're wrong.
Are you going to say that it's made up of the electricity in your brain?
No, what I was going to say is that I'm not claiming that the two carbon elements are the same. I'm proving it by showing it to you under a microscope.
But but nothing about the reality of the
everything. Everything about the reality of the structure of the carbon.
Still, according to
compare them and say that they're the same, bro. What are you talking about?
Okay. This is going to sound strange. Sameness is not material.
Of course it's not. Saying anything isn't material. What are you talking about?
No, sameness.
Sameness.
Oh yeah. Things can be the same in material, or I guess they could.
No.
Sameness.
No.
Sorry.
No. The two carbon atoms have the same structure. They have whatever. Right. The material universe is not telling you they are the same.
Nobody's telling me they're the same. I observed under a microscope.
How do you communicate that? Like the microscope, the image under the microscope. How do you say that? Like,
have you never chemical structure?
I have. I know the chemical structure of.
Where'd they get them? Where'd they get the from?
From the material.
Did they assume that it was the same as another carbon, or did they study two carbons and determine that they had the same structure?
Look, that determination.
The determination idea isn't material. Yes, I know, dude. So what?
So there's immaterial reality.
Hey, so ideas are immaterial. Sure, that doesn't prove that a spirit is.
I didn't say ideas.
But you're trying to back to.
I didn't say ideas were immaterial.
I'm
not saying it's all in your head.
I didn't say.
I didn't say either. I said I'm not saying it. It's all in your head.
I'm not saying that either. I'm saying you're trying to tie these two carbons back to an immaterial spirit, and I don't see how you're going to do it.
I don't see how you're getting sameness from material.
Oh my God, dude.
I don't see it. I don't see how you can provide a scientific material account for why two carbon atoms are the same, besides saying, oh, they have the same structure, they have the same arrangement.
Right.
You're gonna get sameness all the way down.
Yes.
To,
That's what I'm wanting to say.
So we're getting the parts problem.
Right.
So you cannot account for sameness in a material frame. It's not possible.
Okay.
It's just,
Okay. Sure. You're right. Even though, yeah, you're right.
but we would agree that.
You really.
But we would agree that sameness is in the world. Yes.
Sameness. What?
What's that, sir?
Sameness is what?
It's in the world. It's not just in my head.
But it's not carbons. In the world, it doesn't exist as carbon elements.
Say that again, sorry.
You said sameness does exist. Sameness isn't in your head, but are you also saying that carbons cannot exhibit the same sameness?
No, I'm saying they do exhibit the same sameness, but I'm saying the sameness isn't material. Because I don't see how you can say it's material.
Point to a material property of carbon.
Say that again, sorry.
Tell me an immaterial property of carbon.
The arrangement.
The arrangement of what?
The arrangement is inherently material.
It's material.
What was the question, sorry?
Look, okay, so let's put that aside because I have ideas on that are not fully fleshed out. So let's go with the sameness again. A property of carbon, which is immaterial, is the property that is the same as another carbon atom. That is an immaterial property.
If you're counting the number of electrons and you're comparing that to another carbon element and you're comparing the number of electrons, you're saying that and where they are arranged in space, you're saying that's immaterial?
No, I'm saying that the fact that you...
No facts are material, so you can stop right there and I'll tell you that, yeah, sure.
Sorry. Well, sorry.
Oh, Sterling. You're a lot of fun.
I agree.
I'm glad you're fun.
Yes, this is what I work for. So the arrangement.
Physical. Material is physical. Ideas and
right, but there's something beyond the arrangement, right? I know you don't like that word beyond. I'm trying to find another word for it, but
no problem.
Okay, cool. Look. If we have two pictures, microscopic images of carbon atoms, right, side by side, right, and we're saying they have the same structure, I don't see where the sameness is in the structures themselves.
Okay.
And if we're saying that the structures are the things that are material, if the sameness can't be found in the structure, then the sameness can't be material.
Okay, let's say I agree with that. Now what?
Then the sameness is immaterial.
Okay, let's say I agree with that. Now what?
We're saying that sameness is a real property of reality.
Well, it's a concept that's not material.
No, we're saying it's real.
Okay,
Sameness is real.
A real concept that's immaterial, sure.
But we're saying that the
of it being structurally similar is immaterial. I'm giving you that. Now what?
Okay, so now we're saying that there is immaterial parts to reality.
Sure, like concepts and ideas and fictional levels are immaterial. Yeah. So now what?
Are they real?
That's the better question.
I would say they're real. Therefore, reality is not exclusively material.
Okay. All right.
And Sterling, what would you say to that?
I would say it's irrelevant. It's just completely irrelevant. Like we just went down a rabbit hole and came back out the other side.
Yeah. So.
Every time I get started.
Hold on, Richard. Hold on, Richard.
Sorry. I thought you were just commenting.
I don't think you know that.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
It's all bollocks.
It's all bollocks. Ideas, concepts, anything immaterial.
Whether it's material, whether some things are material, some things are immaterial, the concept of those things are material or immaterial, none of that gets us un iota closer to whether a spirit is real.
So hold on, Tyler. Let me do. I'll make it quick.
Go on, Richard. Go one last one. I've got some questions to ask him from other people.
Okay. So we're saying the two carbon atoms are the same.
Sure.
Let's go way up.
Sure.
You have two companies that are equally the same.
No, they're not.
Let's say they are, for the sake of argument.
Okay.
But okay.
But please don't ask me if these two companies that are the same are the same. Like if that's what it's going to come to, like you just told me.
No, I'm saying that.
This is ultimately going to end up as like, are they the same? And you just told me they were.
No, I'm not asking are they the same. I'm asking, is the fact that
the fact immaterial.
No. I'm just asking for the intuition here.
Intuition.
I agree, but it just because this is where the argument goes. Because it's easier to see here. So the companies are comprised of people moving in certain ways, right?
Oh, but they're the same people, right? Moving the exact same way, right? These companies.
Sure.
Okay,
sure.
Go ahead.
Does that not sound like what people describe as spirits, moving groups?
No.
It does to me.
Okay.
Spirit possesses a crowd of people. The spirit possesses the army to win battle. The spirit possesses the family to fight with hatred. Is that not how we use the language of spirits?
You might use it that way, yeah. I'm not sure.
I would say most people, even atheists.
No. Well, is that an appeal to popularity?
No, because you simply said, "Oh, people don't use it that way."
Right, you do. So, and then you clarified that it was the majority. And I'm asking you, just because the majority of people believe something, does that mean it's true?
I'm not saying that it's true because the people are saying it. The argument I gave you was, you say, spirits don't exist.
I did not ever say that.
Okay, fair enough. That my mistake there. To those who say that spirits don't exist.
What about them?
The way that people...
Go ask them. Go ask those people. That's my answer.
Are spirits real, Sterling? I'm asking you directly now. Are spirits real?
I lack a belief in spirits. Think about
it. Do you think it's reasonable to believe in them?
I believe that the only time anything is reasonable to believe in it is once it's been demonstrated. Excuse me. Once it's been demonstrated to you, and you can demonstrate it to others.
So have I not potentially given at least a template
No,
for demonstrating.
not even close.
I think Sterling, I've been watching and observing, and I think Richard gave good. It made his point very clearly, and it gave like stories to go along with the point. And the role you played was, um, if I was being generous, I'll say you were sharpening Richard.
No, sure.
Yeah, yeah, I'll say you're sharpening Richard. That is a better able to get his ideas out. If I was being ungenerous to you, I'll say you were being a dick at points. Just for the sake of being
I disagree. But
I don't. Yeah, this is all for me. But at the same time, I think I've enjoyed it. That's why I kept it going for as long because there were people. Claire, what was your question again? Hold on, let me find it. Claire's been trying to get on to talk to you, and she says she can. I don't know, change your mind in a minute or so. But the question she asked was, oh, yeah, there it is. Does Sterling have any moral principles that are in harmony with the Noahide laws?
I'm sorry, repeat the question.
Does Sterling have any moral principles that are in harmony with the Noahide laws?
Do I have any moral
Principles?
that are?
do you know what Noahide laws are? Still?
I'm not sure I do. I'm not sure. Maybe that's why I can't understand.
Yeah, sorry, Claire. It doesn't. So we'll move on from that. Richard, not Richard. Chad had the question of scroll back up. Yeah, can you explain seed transforming into a blade of grass, please?
Can I what?
Explain how a seed transforms into a blade of grass.
No,
Or seeds transform into blades of grass. Sorry.
we're not playing that, but I'm sure a botanist could. Why?
Well, I think that
Or biology because never explained how a seed transforms into a blade of grass.
I can't hear you.
Point. That's the point he's trying to make.
I couldn't hear what your point. What you say it again? Louder.
He said, or Chad said, a biology book has never explained how a seed transforms into blade of grass. That's the claim. And
Read about.
It's pointing at the fact, the mystery and things.
It's not.
Richard.
Not the botany book. Like, get the right book. Find a botany book, and they'll spell it out for you.
I thought we don't just read things from books and believe it.
Say that again.
I thought we don't just read things from book and believe it. You have to use your own rationale to say, okay, does this make sense and whatnot.
Not your own rationality, but and the book can demonstrate it to you, and it can to where you can demonstrate it for yourself. You could observe it for yourself over a time period. You could see and prove to yourself how it transforms. You don't need me to tell you. And even if I told you, you shouldn't believe me. You should test it for yourself. And you're very testing this.
Yeah. I wish Chad was on to have the conversation with you, but it's not. Claire is still promoting Noahide laws, so we'll keep that going.
About the Noah, yeah, I don't know anything about that.
I know very little.
Yeah, Noahide laws are there's a small set of laws in Judaism that apply to all people and not just the Israelites. And some people like Claire, propose that we should use that as a basis for secular society. So.
But yeah, I've got questions about your morality and your personal morality that you built up for yourself, Sterling. Is that one that you would? I know you're not going to go around saying everyone should have the same moral principles that you hold on to, but you also hold on to them because you believe they are good, correct?
Well, no, I'm actually not holding any of them. Like I'm fluid and letting them go, and I'm constantly changing the compass, and it's a process. It's not solidified. It never.
Yeah, I do get a sense from you that you're in the deconstruction stage of faith and also things are, yeah. But I think at some point you're gonna have to start building things, and you can't keep seeing everything to be Again, this is so presumptuous. I don't know you, but it comes from our interactions.
Don't say it.
No, I will, and now I'm willing to be corrected, so I'll say it. I don't mind being corrected. Being wrong, so I'll say
clearly.
No, yeah, clearly that's why I'm online. There's a what's that fancy word? Hermeneutics of suspicion. What you've brought to the conversation, meaning it's like I'm not sure. Let's inspect that. Let's dive into it. Which I'm not. It's not. I think it's a good because you should like test every spirit to make sure they're right. So I think that's the role you've been playing today, from where I see it anyway. But I think for your own sake, at some point you're gonna have to build up morality that you can stand on. But again, that's your life to live.
And you know what I would say, and you just triggered. I'll be honest. Just,
triggered. Sorry, you're breaking up a little bit.
Yeah. No, I was making a joke about how triggered I am right now.
Oh.
But it is very offensive, and it is very dismissive, and it is very arrogant to assume that any moral compass other than your own, which isn't really your own because you said that somebody gave it to you in a book that you got from another book and blah 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 blah, that makes you on more solid ground than I am.
Oh no. Sorry, I'll let you land.
I can in fact point to it. I don't know what your are, but for example, if you want to believe in the Old Testament and maybe even the New, I could certainly point to not ways that I feel like I get my moral compass from Scripture, but in fact, I can show you ways where I believe, and I can try to explain to you why I believe that my moral compass is superior to that of the Old Testament.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm sure you can, but fundamentally, I think rationality is prone to bullshit. I can use rationality to bullshit myself very easily.
I can say the same thing about the Old Testament and Moses.
That's that.
Where does that
say the same thing being what? Sorry.
You can say the same thing about the Torah, the Old Testament. I mean, that's not productive though. Where does that get us? If you say, hey, the way you're thinking lends itself to bullshit.
No, I'm not saying the way you're thinking. Not this is not a Sterling specific comment. That's a rationality specific comment.
But it applies to me. Yeah.
I use rationality as well. So I'm like, there's probably more projection in that statement than to you. Chad, can you jump in, please? I thought you had admin privilege, Chad. Sorry. We need the armor back. Yeah. So that when I say the rationality is prone to bullshit,
I'll say so is the Old Testament. And I would say so is the Old Testament. Now what?
Yeah, because you have to use rationality to engage with Scripture as well. This you're taking it personally when it wasn't intended as such.
No,
but I think that's because rationality is you put that very.
Yeah. I think that you perceive it that way because you believe in the Old Testament and it lends itself to a bunch of bullshit.
You've not really asked me what I believe. I've been asking you about what you believe. So you've made a lot of presumption about the things that I believe.
No, I haven't made any.
Okay, but this is not where I wanted to go with the conversation. I wanted to get more into your story because that's more interesting to me than.
So you want to know about me, or you want me to ask you about your belief? I'm confused.
If I'm willing to answer any questions you want to ask, but I want to ask you questions. I don't think you want to ask me questions.
I don't. But I do. I like you asking me questions. Feel free.
Yes, that's why I thought. Yeah. So I guess my question is, firstly, what was there a triggering point for the deconstruction? Was there something was there a egg that you thought, oh, this was a good egg, and like then it turned out to be rotten, and then that made you question all the other eggs? Did that make sense? That question makes sense.
Absolutely, it's a good question, and yeah, absolutely. I had a really bad experience in my church, and I was actually molested, and I think that's why. No, that's the answer people want me to say, but no, there was no.
You lost me. I'm molested. I was following you, and then you said molested, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, but my point, and it's not a joke about that, but my point is that it would be very easy and convenient if I had some sort of bad experience. But the fact of the matter is I didn't. It's a great question, but basically, the short version of it, once I moved out of my parents' house, I was able to think and speak freely. So once I went to college, I was about 18 or 19. I started asking questions and talking, and those asking questions and talking
What
about.
did you do at college?
I'm sorry.
What did you study at college, at university?
Oh gosh, a lot of all kinds of things. Mostly biology and chemistry. But anyway, to finish my answer there, yes, started thinking about things, and I started examining whether or not I had a good reason, whether I was justified to believe the things that I believed, and it was just slowly, piece by piece, just you know what? I don't think that I have good reason to believe that, even though I'll have my whole life, and even though it hurts me to reconsider it, and even though it's gonna separate me from all my friends and family when they find out.
I respect anyone that's willing to go against the grain and not just trying to go or think for themselves. But at the same time, I think that's a slippery slope into arrogance and pride that I'm wary of.
And you're not weary of the slippery slope of what your parents believe and what the rabbi tells you and what the book says. That's not a slippery slope.
Again, because you've not asked me any questions, you don't know whether I'm holding on to my parents' belief or I've moved away from their beliefs.
I just asked you.
I'm wary of my parents' belief. Yes, to answer your question.
Okay, so don't you think? So don't you think it would?
What are my parents' beliefs?
Sorry,
Do you know what my parents' beliefs are?
you're asking me.
Yeah, because you're making assumptions. I'm trying to point out how you're making assumptions about my beliefs.
When you ask,
but to answer your questions, no,
the question is not.
I am actually more religious than my parents are, if you can believe that, because
mine too.
Their belief is more secular. They're way more secular than I am, and I am skeptical of the belief of secularity.
Right.
Yep.
You don't believe in your own ability to form a moral compass. You'd rather someone give it to you.
No.
That's a straw man of why you're religious. I can see how you get there.
Logic.
You say logic.
Yeah.
Yeah, logic is not infallible.
You're gonna need some presuppositions at some point.
I'm sorry.
You're gonna need some presuppositions at some point.
For what? Why do I need presuppositions?
Because logic won't get you
Huh?
anything. Logic won't get you anything really without presuppositions.
Presuppositions will get you somewhere logic won't.
You won't get anywhere without them.
Why do I need them? And if I haven't used them, how have I gotten to this point in my life?
Because you have.
What are they?
I don't know. I just
How do
know
you know
you
I
have.
got them?
That's how the world works.
Huh?
That's how the world works. If you look, you run into the same problem we ran into earlier, which is infinite regression. You can't endlessly justify everything. You can't endlessly apply logic to everything.
I didn't say you could.
So what would you say? Because how I interpreted that is you need presuppositions at the bottom to allow the logic to build on top.
I'm still wondering what my presuppositions are that you told me I had.
I don't know what they are. I know.
So I might not have them.
No, look, I know you have a heart. I may not know what size your heart is, but I know you have a heart.
We're not talking about hearts. We're talking about presuppositions.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, just because I don't know what they are, doesn't mean I don't know that you have them.
Can a person survive without presuppositions?
No.
Well, look, it depends on what you mean by presuppositions, because of
You
course.
told me I was going to need them eventually, so your words in that case. I don't know what you mean.
So what I guess what I mean is you have and everyone has beliefs that are not able to be logically justified.
Yeah, and I told you that I consider them rotten eggs in my brain, and I'm trying to get rid of them. You're leaning on like a crutch.
I mean, so what's something you consider morally wrong?
Drowning innocent babies.
Okay, so why do you think drowning babies is wrong?
Do I have to explain to you why it's wrong to drown? Is that what you're asking?
That seems like a presupposition. If you're not going to, that's why I'm asking you.
No, it's not a presupposition. It's just my opinion. Although subjective, my moral compass is subjective. It's my opinion that to kill and murder and drown an innocent baby is wrong because it conflicts with my moral compass that I already explained is based off of a do no. And if you drown babies, you're doing harm.
So you said that you base your morality on doing no harm unto others. Can you logically justify that?
I don't have to logically justify what I base mine off of. You could ask me, like, you could present situations where it might not work and it might not point me in the same way, but you're asking me to justify what I base mine off of. Is that the question?
But isn't that what a presupposition is?
No, a presupposition is if you go into it believing it willy-nilly without any evidence, kind of like faith.
That's not at all what a presupposition is. Let me just read the dictionary definition.
Oh, please do.
Presupposition, a thing tacitly assumed beforehand at the beginning of a line of arguments or
Dude,
course of action.
That's literally what I said, dude. Why are y'all trying to argue with me over things like that's literally, I mean, like, to paraphrase it, that is what I said.
No, a thing assumed beforehand.
That's what I said. I said it's something you come into an opinion with like this. You come into an argument with this opinion that you formed willy-nilly that isn't based on truth.
Not willy-nilly. So you're saying that a presupposition isn't based on truth?
Exactly. We'll read the definition again.
Sterling. What about I should not, or how did you phrase it again? I don't do harm unto others. What about that is based on truth?
What are you talking? First, you wanted me to justify it morally, and now you want me to base it on truth?
Yes,
look,
because
the thesis is he's saying that statement of do no harm has a lot of presuppositions in it.
No, it doesn't.
Well, if you're calling it an opinion,
yeah,
opinions have nothing to do with logic.
I just said it's a subjective morality, bro.
Right, so you said that logic is what guides you, yes? Is that true? Does logic guide you?
To what? Guide me to what?
To your morality.
I don't know. In what context were you using logic before? That's what I thought you were saying, that it just guides you in a general sense.
Oh yeah, that's why you're there, because he said logic went to
a certain conclusion. It didn't form my moral compass, but it might influence me on what I believe is true or false.
So, do your opinions also? So, would you say your opinions are your moral compass, or that they form your moral? Or that
I would say that logic and the scientific method help me form conclusions that are, at the end of the day, personal and unique to me, because they are my own, that I've built off of logic and reason and observations.
Right, but so logic, reason, observation, and your opinions, right?
No, reason and observations formulate my opinion.
So you developed the opinion
beforehand, like you, who has presuppositions that you're very proud of. What I'm saying is, I try to go into
what presuppositions. What presuppositions am I proud of? So,
dude, please don't do this. You just told me that I was.
Okay,
no,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was.
Told me I was. And now you're trying to Like, why do I need them? And what do I like? You told me I need them, and now you're acting like you don't need them. Like, what's
No,
going on?
no,
Do you agree that you need them?
I have presuppositions. You just said I'm proud of them.
Are you?
So I don't know what.
Alan, do you agree that you need
What I
them?
mean by that is you're not actively trying to get rid of them, like rotten eggs in your brain, the way I described it.
No, but that's because I believe they're
You're leaning on them.
necessary.
Right, you're leaning on them. You're proud of them. You want to.
No, look,
like
am I proud of pooping?
Yeah.
I am.
But wait,
yeah, because
I presuppose that you are.
Okay, so let's go back. Okay. Your opinions. So, this is what I was going to ask you. Your observations inform your opinions, yes?
Yeah, they help me to settle on an opinion. Sure, that could be like as far as morality. Sure.
But you can't be right or wrong about your opinions, right?
Well, that's why I call it a subjective.
Right, because your opinion. Interesting. Well, I don't want to be cheeky. Hey, that's interesting. Because maybe so. You have questioned my framework for this. So the opinions are formed by observation. That's interesting. What? Huh. It seems cheeky and honestly a bit dishonest to ask this, but so feel free to not answer it. But why do you form your opinions by your observation?
Because what else would you? Because I believe that I'm on more solid ground by doing that than believing some story I read in a book.
And you believe that by observation, presumably?
Right, because like I feel like I can demonstrate my actions and I can demonstrate how they like cause harm, and then I can show you how that's bad for me and society and you and everyone around. So it's very straightforward, as opposed to saying, "Hey, look, I don't like all these demonstrations that you're showing. I feel much better if some old white guy with a gray beard in the clouds came down off the mountain and told me that's what I want. I want someone to just tell me, somebody buy me a compass, please. Can somebody take me to Walmart and buy me a compass? Because I don't really feel like putting this all together myself."
So hold on, let me get this straight. So, let me parse this out. So I asked you, why do you let your observations inform your opinions? And then you said that it's because I have this other opinion.
No.
So no, you said it's because I believe that I am a more.
I didn't say any of that.
Hold on. I think this is what you said, and maybe this is an opinion. So please allow me to say it. No. Please correct it if I'm wrong. But
don't worry.
Okay, sounds good. You said that you believe that you are better.
Nope.
Okay, please just if you would.
I said that I could show you examples if you believe in the Old Testament, to where, for example, I believe that my moral compass that I created for myself subjectively, based off of observations, is, and by my opinion, morally superior to that of the Old Testament. And I already worked in the example while you weren't.
Right.
I already worked in the example while you weren't looking about the drowning babies. So if you want to go there, I've already planted that seed. And I can show you how that seed sprouts into a a grassling.
Well, so what do you make of the common argument that that people who critique some parts of the Bible are just using other parts of the Bible to critique it?
Is that a common argument? Is that what you said?
Yes.
I have no idea.
So some would say that, before the advent of Christianity, you would find exceptions of certain philosophies, but most major worldviews would be perfectly fine with the kind of war and child sacrifice and angry God that is portrayed in the Old Testament, and that the only reason why you specifically have a problem with the Old Testament
it's horrible.
is because of the values of other parts of the Old Testament and parts of the New Testament that have informed your moral abhorrence of those parts of the Bible.
Dude, it was probably hard for you to get all those words out, because
I can say it again if you want to.
All right, please.
More concise.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
So basically, when you critique the parts of the Bible you think are morally wrong, you are using other parts of the Bible to base your morality on.
No, I'm not. Why would you say that when it's just
because where else would you have gotten them besides the Bible?
What you can't accept is that I certainly.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
That I am capable of forming my own moral compass.
Right. So if you were born in India and you have no exposure to Christianity at all, would you have the same moral compass? You have the same views, you have the same DNA.
Yes, and let me tell you why.
Okay.
Because my moral compass is not based off of what, and that's a great question. It does not change based off of what country I was born in. It does not change based off of what color my skin is. It does not change based off of how much money my parents got for my education.
I call bullshit.
Hold on. Because doing no harm is universal. It can be applied to every religion and race and creed and nation and city and state and jungle. Now, we all won't agree is what that harm is, which is why it's subjective. But that doesn't mean that you're on sand just because all Israelites agreed that this message was passed down, which, by the way, they don't. So my point is just that it doesn't make you weak to say that you formulated it on your own.
Well, I mean, you just said that all of the world religions believe that. So when you said that all of the world religions believe that. No, you said every tribe and every is what you said.
I was just saying if you do, that doesn't. I'm saying if a
so let's say you were born in Sparta in 300 when would it be, like 400 BC, and you were in the training camp since you were 10 years old.
Okay.
You're not gonna learn don't harm others. You're going to learn train as hard as you can, serve your country so that we can spread our empire by leading and dominating other nations.
What's the question?
Is that not the case, that if you were born in Sparta in 300 BC that you wouldn't?
You could begin to formulate an idea of what it would be like for me to live in Sparta. You know what I mean? But the point of it is this. Let me ask you, what about you then? What if you were born in Pakistan?
Of course I wouldn't be a Christian.
So it's...
So still, what does that say about the validity of my beliefs?
It's dependent on where you were born, and not rather opposed to whether it's or not.
Hold on. The validity of my beliefs is dependent on where I was born?
No. The
validity?
The beliefs themselves, what you believe is
Sure. The beliefs themselves.
Right.
But not the validity. Well, nothing about the validity of my belief is affected by where I'm born.
Yeah, the beliefs that you have.
That's a genetic fallacy.
Huh?
That's a fallacy.
Which one?
Saying that where I was born affects whether or not my beliefs are true or
I didn't
not.
say that. I just said that your beliefs would be different based off of where you were born.
Okay, and
mine aren't, because I'm basing it off of doing no harm. Don't you get it?
no, they would be different. They would be different
No,
because
but
there are many cultures.
huh?
There are many cultures
Yeah,
where violence, war is is normal, and
yeah.
the
I got
modus operandi.
that's our culture. Like, I mean, that's our country. What's your,
And Mongolia and
yeah?
Greece
And
and Rome and
my moral compass is
some Native American tribes and some African tribes.
yeah, I
It's
believe
not
that.
universal.
No, listen to me, bro. But if you can apply the concept universally, and you don't have to be born into it, because anybody can grasp the point of what what is damage, of what is pain, of what is harm. We've all experienced it, and we all know that we didn't like it. And so this principle can be applied to every corner of the world, and it isn't dependent on your parents or your country. As a matter of fact, you're on much more solid ground.
I
Because
mean, isn't preaching that Christ died and rose again um forgive our sins just as universal?
it's like, no,
Yes,
many people die and never haven't heard the word. What are you talking about? And you just said,
but in principle, it's just as universal a message.
huh?
It's just as universal a message. People would resonate with that all over the world.
No, people in many countries all over the world have never even heard of Jesus, and they have other
Sure,
religions. So what's your
sure.
point?
So in that sense, it's not universal.
In
Okay.
the literal sense, yeah, it's not universal.
Well, no. So sorry. I thought you meant like the palatability of the belief. Sure.
Look, you don't need a
Sure.
book. You don't need scripture. You don't need a guide. You don't need a religion to know what harm is. And so that's what I'm saying is universal about my.
But it's very subjective, like you also said, Sterling.
Say that again.
It's very subjective. Like
Oh, but the Bible's not, because everyone agrees with.
No, that's not what he said.
no one made anything about the Bible apart from me. I said your belief is subjective. Can you you say yes? Just say yes.
But Stilling would say that that subjective opinion is common amongst all people.
Yeah. My next question was going to be, are you able to imagine a person who, like you, is also trying to put together their moral beliefs, and the rationally decides, oh wait, this Christian belief is the most rational belief? Or can you imagine that? Or would you say that person is just subjecting themselves to the book?
Deception.
Only way to determine whether it's morally good or bad would be to weigh the consequences of that action and determine if there was harm that was caused. Now, as opposed to people will try to determine whether something is morally good or bankrupt based off of how they interpret, which, by the way, lends itself to subjectivity of the scripture.
Yep.
So there's subjectivity in yours and mine.
Yep.
But I just feel like mine is a little more firmer because I've developed it, thought about it, can explain it, can demonstrate it. Whereas religious.
Oh, there.
Do you believe yours is more firmer for you, or for just more firmer for?
What I was gonna say before you guys interrupted was that I feel like to having developed it myself and thought about it, even right now, talking about it with you guys and working on it constantly, puts me on firmer ground than to say, hey, look, forget about all that. Here's what this book says.
Now, let's be clear that that's not at all how religion works.
Sure.
Me and Tyler are constantly working on
No,
our frame of how we understand the scriptures, of how we interact with others.
Own moral compass.
Yes, I am.
And
because still, we agreed that my moral compass is distinct from the book. I have my own moral compass.
Then why do you need the book?
Because I consider it a firmer foundation than your rationality, logic, experience, opinions.
Yeah, quite frankly, Sterling, speaking for myself, I trust the book more than I trust myself.
Okay, well that's silly.
Yeah.
Why? Why?
I
Why is it
think
silly?
What can't be demonstrated, and the things that you believe could be potentially.
Why does it have to demonstrate it? What do you mean by
Told you that
how do you demonstrate moral principles?
once it's been demonstrated to you, and you can demonstrate to others, so that's why it's important.
Say that again, sorry.
What the demonstration is important because that's when you should choose to believe something, not before. Once it's been demonstrated to you and you can demonstrate to others, that's when you should feel confident and solid saying that you believe something.
Tyler, do you want to jump in?
Yeah. I actually don't disagree, but I will frame it differently. I like your framing of fruits, judging let's call the moral principle by the fruits that they bear. And I guess the question I was asking is it possible that there's a moral system outside of myself that bears better fruits? And
Yeah.
my logical answer that I came to
Yeah.
this was yes, and why I have subjected myself to the Christian tradition.
You're boxing yourself into it.
Subjecting myself to the Christian tradition.
You're
I'm giving the Christian tradition authority.
You're closing yourself
over,
off. Closing yourself off to all other logic and reason.
No, actually, quite.
Nope.
If it was close enough, then I would not be subject. Like one of the things that makes me subject myself to it is the fact that it opens me up to reality, to participate in reality in a true way. But these are all Christianese language that you're actually you probably do understand because you grew up in Christian tradition.
Go ahead, quote me and tell me what I don't understand. Though that's fine.
That was a diss on myself saying I'm getting too insular with my terminologies, not at your ability to understand what I'm saying. But the point I'm making is you're saying that you trust yourself more than I'm just getting understanding. You trust yourself more than any other authority figure to build your own morality. Now, I presume that's because you have been subjected to other moral authority that you find to be inefficient.
Drowning babies. Like drowning babies, yeah.
Is that a reference to
the Great Flood?
To child baptism? I don't know.
The Great Flood.
Oh, the Great Flood. Got you. Yes.
Okay.
That actually proves Richard's earlier point that you were using the Bible to judge the Bible, but we'll leave that to the side.
Of course, I'm using the words to judge it. Like, what else am I going to use? It's the stories they told me. It's in the book. But of course, I'm going to read it and judge it.
How old were you when you left the faith?
I already was 18 or 19 when I went to college, and it just
18 or 19. Sorry, bad memory.
Yeah.
I saw my name. Someone says Stalin and Richard have the exact same glasses, and now I can't unsee that.
This is actually not my face or my glasses. This is my friend who got locked up. His name's Wildheart, so I just used his picture. That's not me.
You and your friend and Richard have the same glasses.
Okay, yeah.
Still pretty funny. Are you comfortable showing your face? Because I feel like you've been on.
Oh yeah, sure. I'm just kind of laying down. Let me get up. You want to see my face? Here we go. I don't blame you.
Hi, Sterling. Thank you for doing this, by the way. This has been. I have enjoyed this.
Have you?
I really have been. I generally see it as you're giving Richard and I, because we're the two people talking to you at the moment, a chance to be able to vocalize what we believe better, and I think that's a good thing, because if we're not getting resistant to our faith, this little community could just become very insular, and we're just
an echo chamber.
We don't need that. That's the last thing we need. Internet has enough echo chambers going on.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me.
See you.
Richard, that was brilliant. Thank you for that. What time is it over there? Because if Jacob was there, they would have kicked you off to go to bed right
now. My sleep schedule is flipped right now. I woke up at 8 p.m. So yeah.
All right. So you're still
yeah.
Woke up at 8 p.m. Wow.
Yes. Yeah, that is a problem, but I'll survive. So. Yeah, that is fun. Sorry, I didn't like. I felt like I dominated it a bit. So sorry.
Yeah, but I enjoyed that. I took a step back because you were engaging him and he was following what you were saying. So that's a good.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that is good. That's good.
How do I end the stream because
Oh, let's see. I think we just both leave.
and I will end it. Okay.
All right.
All right. Thanks everyone
Bye,
for
guys.
participating. Peace.